Attendu que le Canada est fondé sur des principes qui reconnaissent la suprématie de Dieu et la primauté du droit, prenons un moment de réflexion personnelle. Whereas Canada is founded upon principles that recognize the supremacy of God and the rule of law, let us take a moment of personal reflection. Thank you very much, everyone. Looking forward when we have a different rendition of that one.
Yeah, just I believe staff is working with the Fair Board to
make that part
make that part of the
Russell Fair.
the entertainment at the fair, and hopefully shortly after that we'll have a new version.
Item 4, additions, deletions, or amendments. We will. Thank you very much. Encore. We're going to be replacing.
I believe staff is working with the Fair Board to
make that part.
make that part of the.
The Okay. There's a few second delay between the webcast and. Additions, deletions, or amendments. First change, we'll be replacing item 11J with report FS32A. That's in regards to the remuneration bylaw for our discretionary budgets, and we'll be removing the associated bylaw from vote tonight. There's a clause in that bylaw that we have to give notice before we approve any changes. So the change of the bylaw will only come into effect at the next meeting.
What would the member do if he needs to access any funds? Then we just go ahead.
Well,
and
that'll
approve
be
it?
part of the new report accounts for that.
Okay.
But the actual change to the remuneration bylaw will have to happen later on. 1, 2. Any other changes, Madame Camille Laflamme? No, I think that's all. Okay. Item 5, adoption of the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda as presented. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Brisson, seconded by Conseiller Lorrain. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Item 6, disclosure of pecuniary interest. Councillor Saucier?
Yes, I have to declare a pecuniary interest on item E on the capital charges bylaw due to the fact that it affects me directly.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Item 7, adoption of minutes, regular council minutes of June 18th, 2018. Motion to approve the following minutes as presented. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Paul, seconded by Councillor Lorrain. Questions, comments? All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Item 8, presentations, we have none. Item 9, delegations, petitions. Delegation presented by Cindy Anthony and Dave Picard on behalf of the King Club of Russell for the Welcome to Russell signs. Invite you to come up to the lectern, please.
Your Worship, councillors, thank you for agreeing to hear our request for a presentation this evening. My name is Cindy Anthony. I'm the president of the Kin Club of Russell, and with me this evening is fellow Kin member Dave Picard, who will be delivering our presentation.
Your Worship, members of council, and residents of the Township of Russell. The Kin Club of Russell has decided to do and embark on a new project for the 2018-2019 year. Working on the wave of success from our last project, being the Dome, and of course the news that has just come out with regards to our status in Canada, we thought that our project is going to fall right in line with where we're moving to. What we're looking at doing is updating the signs that go into the Russell Township. So we have an east and west sign. If you take a look at the screen, the main one, it's big, it's blue, it's got some nice 4x4s holding it up, but it's outdated, and if you look really closely through the guidelines and all the signage that lays around it, the sign of Russell is there. Now that sign was taken in the winter, but if you go by it now with all the summer foliage around, it just blends in and disappears. So we thought that it would be a great investment to the community to update the Russell signage. When we embarked on looking at how we could do this, we looked around and thought, okay, what kind of sign would we like to do? Well, it wasn't hard to figure out when we looked over our shoulder in Embrun, and they had just recently, a few years ago, these wonderful signs that were done up, and we would like to mirror and echo that for the entrance of Russell on both the east and west entrances. You see that there's nice boulders holding up the foundation. There's a nice, beautiful sign with good lettering. And when you drive into Embrun, it's a welcoming sign. When you come in, it shows that we have pride, we have community, and we want to do that same reflection in the Russell Township. So that's the east side and that's the west side. Our objective tonight is to seek a partnership with the Township of Russell and the Kin Club of Russell. We want to raise the funds for the project, which would be done by the Kin Club, in support with the township with the legal as well as the after erection maintenance. The welcome signs are estimated to cost about $30,000 to $40,000 for both signs, and we estimate that it'll take approximately 1 year to raise the funds for installation. When we do these signs, what's going to happen? Well, the results are simple. We're going to modernize a township. We're going to modernize Russell. We're going to have people feel more welcome when they come through and identify what's available within our community. It's also going to reinforce a unity between the townships, or the towns within the Township of Russell. We're going to enhance the profile. Oh, I think I went back. Okay. We want to enhance the profile that's already here. Such a wonderful profile. We want to increase the reputation of this township. We're already known right now across Canada as being the third best community to live in. So what we want to do is really promote that. It's going to increase the value, it's going to increase the look of the village, but more importantly, the Township of Russell. The Kin Club has chosen this as a unit. We want to go forward with this, and with the support of the of council, I think that this would definitely be a doable project, and right now we'd like to thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you very much, Mr. Picard. I think on behalf of council, sitting here for the last 4 years and sitting here when the project for the Embrun signs were originally done, it was a great partnership. We were quite happy with it on council's side. I believe administration was the same way. And I had a lot of people in Russell inquiring about, you know, we'd like that in Russell as well. And my answer always was, well, it was volunteers who took care of it and paid for it. So if you guys are willing to jump on board and do the same thing, then I'm sure council would be in agreement to that. I think it's a wonderful idea. Definitely the fact that we were mirroring the existing sign is a definite plus. You know, it's bringing the community closer together as opposed to always trying to separate the two villages. Monsieur Le Duc, Madame Bordeaux, maybe you can fill us in what is in regards to the last project. What would we be looking at on our side? What kind of agreements? Is it just a direction of council you would need, or because essentially this project is only looking to go ahead once the funds are raised by the King Club of Russell, so. Monsieur,
Well, the last project, what we did is we got involved to get some agreements done up because the signs are partly on road allowance and partly on private property. So we did get these agreements legally done up, but most of the expense for the remainder of the signs were fundraised by Julie Aymar.
okay. Councillor Saucier?
I just had a couple of questions. I'm happy about the sign because it's been in disarray and sort of, I remember it was on television and it looked kind of shabby at one point. But I wasn't sure about mirroring the exact same thing. One thing that was sort of suggested by someone was incorporating something that represents Russell, so like Russell brick or something as a base, at the base of it. So I don't know if you wanted to consider some other options, but I just thought that was kind of a neat idea, that the base at the bottom above the sign. I mean, the sign itself could be the same. And I think you're planning on incorporating that it is the third best place to live that I saw in your mock-up.
Well, I know at this point in time, the mirror image of Embrun is what we're considering. Definitely, we take into all sorts of considerations. We have a few committees that are already ready to go with regards to the land and the fundraising and all that. But definitely, if there are suggestions from the council that you would like us to incorporate, we're definitely open to suggestions.
Well, this was coming from community members,
Oh, okay.
and they heard about the sign and were excited about it, and yeah.
Definitely open to suggestions.
All right, thank you.
Conseiller Lorraine, Conseiller Brisson?
Yeah, I'm 100% in agreement. I think it makes absolute sense. It's something that the residents of Russell have been asking me about as well, quite loudly. And you know, when we look at the mirroring of the sign, I think it's a good idea, because I think most of our signs look like that now. If you go down to the 417 Industrial Park, there's a sign of similar size and shape and whatnot. So I think keeping in that mode makes absolute sense. I just wanted to make one comment on the presentation, and it's nothing against anything. It's just more, when you mentioned the fact that the current signs are a little dated, I just wanted to point out that imagine how more dated they would look had it not been repainted by a wonderful group of citizens. I think
It was a mom and two daughters, yeah?
yeah, that took it upon themselves to repaint them last year or the year before. So, and that's the repainted version. So imagine how they would have looked had they not taken the time. So I wanted to give them their recognition of actually having redone them recently. So,
Thank you.
Merci. Conseiller Brisson?
I think it's a really good idea. The only thing I want to maybe take in consideration, if you back up just a few slides where the Russell sign is, there, you see all the sign with the different group,
The community group.
the community group, because in Embrun, that was forgotten in the design of the welcome sign. And now there's some work to be done to find out how they want to incorporate it and where. So if in Russell, if it want to be considered, if there's a way that those club could be incorporated with that sign, but taking in consideration that we don't lose that whenever we enter, or at least we have a place to see that, because our club are doing our live in our community. So I think it's important to have those signs too, and quite visible. That was my first point. And I did notice that in Russell, there's this one that is east and the other one west. There's some other north and south. I don't know if it was considered two, or I know they're a bit more side road, but I know that they have those signs at the same place.
And if I can speak on that, the north and south signs were looked at. What we were hoping to do was keep the same kind of format design, but in a smaller concept. So the concept that's there now, because they're on a four-post sign, we would try and keep them maintained, but of course our primary goal was for the two major signs east to west.
It was just, since I went to do some cycling around there, I saw those signs, I said, okay, just that we have some consideration if, that we don't forget those one either.
Thank
Not
you.
as fancy, but
Conseiller Lorrain?
Yeah, I guess, just to make sure, I mean, I don't believe that the sign would be located at the exact same spot as that one is, because of the
Layout.
sight lines. Is that accurate?
That's absolute.
Okay.
We've been looking at a couple of different locations. We have a few that we still have to investigate for permissions and legal aspects. But definitely, we have some more visible
Right.
locations that would eliminate all the wires.
So which means the sign that's there, the other with all the community groups would stay right where it is. I think it's a good location and it shows all the right information on it. So I'm fine with it like that. So
Perfect, thank you.
Monsieur Leduc?
Monsieur le Maire, bonsoir. For one thing, I think we feel that it's a welcome program, a project for the community. I'd like to get direction from council, though, as far as what's our role, because I believe we should be stating, we're doing our branding exercise probably next year. What's going to happen to that look? What's going to happen to the more signs like north, south, and others like that? So I think council should be giving the okay for the fundraising to take place, but certainly we'd have to sit down and or be proposed some projects and locations so that staff and bring to council recommendation regarding what do you approve, because we don't want to be in a situation where again the project goes ahead, there's all kinds of ideas thrown out there, and council or administration say we have policies, we have issues, and then we have to backtrack. So I wish that'd be the direction given by council to the proponents.
Yeah, definitely. I think at this point in time, it's definitely go ahead with the fundraising. Have council can give direction for the staff to work with the King Club to try and hammer out some of those points and bring something back to council for approval down the road before we get too far into the project.
For sure.
So, yeah, no,
Definitely.
that's good for direction on our part, Monsieur Leduc. Perfect. Thank you very much for the presentation, and look forward to the finished product down the road.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 10, consent items. Motion that all items listed under consent items be received as presented. Item A, minutes of the Limoges Citizens Committee, May 8th, 2018. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Saucier, second by Conseiller Lorrain. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Item 11, reports from departments and council committees. Item A, removal of part lock control report PD 48 2018. That council receive report PD 48 2018 dated August 13, 2018 and adopts a bylaw to approve the proposed application for the removal of part lock control submitted by 2035482 Ontario Inc., care of Mathieu Quesnel for the parcel of land described as Lot 72 on Plan 50M-313 being Parts 1 and 2 on Plan 50R-10729 and known as 259-261 Belford Street in the village of Embrun. Questions, comments, members of council? Councillor Saucier.
Yeah, I was just wondering, under the phase 3, 4, and 5 of the plan of the subdivision and the discussion part, it was saying pathways and a park open space block. Is that the wetland that's there? Is that what they're referring to?
Monsieur Leduc, Madame Tremblay.
Bonsoir. Yeah, so at the time of when the plan of subdivision was approved, the park was designated around the storm pond and the path along the storm. However, we had a discussion, me and Madame Guittard, regarding maybe a proposed park where we would have a location to have a play structure, because we know that there's a lot of young families that are moving into this area. So we're in discussion with the owner of the property so we could find a place to have a play structure as well as keeping the green space around the pond.
D'autres questions, commentaires? Anything to add from the administration? Okay, move on to item B. Removal of part lot control report PD 51-2018, properties owned by Tarn Homes Corporation known as 138-140 and 142-144 Boxcar Crescent in Russell. That council receives report PD 51-2018 dated August 13, 2018, and that council approves the proposed bylaw regarding the application of the removal of part lot control submitted by Tarn Homes Corporation for the parcel of land described as Lot 10 on Plan 50M-317, being parts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 on Plan 50R-10732, and known as 138-140 Boxcar Crescent in the village of Russell, and for the parcel of land described as Lot 11 on Plan 50M-317, being parts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 on Plan 50R-10731, and known as 142-144 Boxcar Crescent in the village of Russell. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? Move on to item C. Removal of part lot control report PD 52-2018. That council received report PD 52-2018 dated August 13, 2018, and council adopts a bylaw for the proposed application for the removal of part lot control submitted by Melanie Construction, Inc., care of James D. Campbell of Campbell and Sabourin, LLP, for the parcel of land described as Lot 106 on Plan 50M-320, being parts 1 and 2 on Plan 50R-10744, and known as 218-220 Capri Avenue in the village of Emblem. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? We'll move on. Item D, pay list, June 2018. That council receives the pay list for the month of June 2018. Questions, comments? Anything to add from the administration? No. Move on. Item E, capital charges bylaw, report FS 22A-2018. That council received report FS 22A-2018 dated August 13, 2018, and that the proposed bylaw be adopted as presented in second and third reading, imposing a capital charge on private wastewater and water system conversions to the municipal wastewater system or water system or both. Questions, comments, members of council? Conseiller Lorrain.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So I'm going to ask that this item be deferred. I think there have been many questions that are still unanswered that need to be looked into by the administration. Some different options that have been discussed and I think have to be, again, researched and brought back to council. I know there's a lot of people here tonight for that item as well. And I've spoken to quite a few of them, as have yourself and staff. So I think that for this item, I'm requesting council defer until administration can come back with an updated document with options. The other piece that I would also request is that, and I didn't know if this had happened or not, and I think it's important. So two things. One is if there's a way that we can be notifying the 600 or so potential affected people so that everybody knows that this is going on. I understand we have our meeting schedules and whatnot, but you know, somebody that doesn't follow the political landscape and, you know, all of a sudden they're going to get, you know, an email at some point in time or a notification that they can connect, and they're going to look at it and go, wow, 60, 80, 90, whatever that number is, doesn't make any sense. So at least they know the process is ongoing, and the second part is to have their say, and when I say this, it's not for them to come and say, I don't want it, and that's the bottom line is to hold a public meeting discussion with administration and the affected parties. Whether they choose to come or not is up to them, but at least to get some input, right? Because there are some actually really solid, concrete ideas out there that I've heard already from residents that are affected that aren't necessarily them saying, no, it's not right or it's not fair, but if we are to be imposed, then how should we break it down? And how can it be done? So that's my request. So to defer tonight, have administration come back with a second reading later on, once all the information has been researched and after they've held a public meeting session for the affected parties, and to have a notification sent to all the affected parties that this is going on.
Okay, thank you very much. The motion to defer will be when we deal with this in the resolutions. It's already separate, so we'll be able to have that. Monsieur Leduc?
So Matt, for your consideration, I believe there's 6,000 people impacted here, not 600. To the perspective,
600 homes.
I understand.
Okay.
I'm saying that if we choose to defer or choose to remove some of these fees onto water charge, water rates, and everywhere else, I think it involves everyone paying the fees. So for me, my perspective would be that not only those who are being inquired to connect, but also those who are connected right now and would have impact on their fees if this does not proceed forward, that they also be informed, not only one party, but both parties be informed of as to what we're working on and what we're discussing.
Okay, merci, Monsieur Leduc. I'll just, I think there's 2 points to Monsieur Councillor Lorrain that brought up. In regards to the ideas, I did have conversation with few members of the public, the ideas of a sunset clause. Monsieur Godin was part of that meeting. So the idea of a sunset clause where, you know, this would be and only take into effect in whatever so many years, or the idea of a reduced fee. Those were the 2 ideas that were proposed to me. I think that I'd like to see what the impact of that possibility would be on in that scenario. For example, if you gave a reduced rate, well, how will that affect the water rates for everybody else? Like, you know, so we understand what the impact of a decision of council would be. So I just want to make sure I have all the facts going forward. If we are holding a public meeting, I would think that we should do that first, get all the feedback, then the administration would be able to bring those comments forward in a report to council and cost out. You know, I'm sure there's not 50 million different ideas. There's probably maybe 3 or 4 possible options. But I think the first step would be a meeting, announce a public meeting. We could get that done, probably organized in the next 3-4 weeks, first week of September. And then, you know, have that analyzed. We could have a decision by possibly, or not a decision, but a report back to council by end of September, early October. Is that feasible, Monsieur Leduc?
Well, discussing with the team, I'd say it looks like it, but they would have to discuss further.
Yeah, but I think if we give direction to let the administration go ahead with the public meeting, that's what we're requesting. If members of council are okay with that. Councillor Paul?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. One thing I'd like to have looked at also is the non-residential. I know it's on a square footage basis. And one of the issues you run into with that is if you have a large building with only 1 or 2 washrooms, a warehouse type structure, where the fee, if it's on a per square foot basis, is not in reality what they're going to be using for water and sewer, or it may just be 2 washrooms that are being connected. So that also be looked at some sort of prorated scale for large buildings.
Okay. I think the other thing we didn't take into consideration at this point in time is the existing buildings in the industrial park, where they don't pay a DC charge because they're already existing, but have we taken into account what they would pay if ever we do bring services? They would pay the same infrastructure costs as everybody else, but a capital charges bylaw, was that looked at as well at this point in time? I don't think we've looked at that, so that might be something else to look as well. Conseiller Brisson?
Une autre chose aussi, another thing that was brought up tonight, we're saying that we're imposing that fee because every new house that we put in, whether it's in a project or it's a new connection, it goes in the system, and that's what the money is for. But also, we must consider the question, whenever we add water and sewer for new apartment. It's new, it's not a direct connection on it, but we're approving some allowance for water and sewer for new apartment. Should they be paying a bit too? If we're charging houses to be connected on the system, it's a new apartment going in as a house too. So it's a question that will have to be addressed.
Yep, good
At the same
point. When
time.
we create, when somebody decides to build an in-law suite in the house and requests a unit that wasn't accounted for, is there charge associated with that? So I think it's all good questions that the administration can look at. Conseiller Lorrain?
You just said a very interesting word, and this is what I was just going to bring up is the word accounted for. And I think that's a big piece of this whole puzzle, because, and I haven't gone back yet to the all the reports from 2006, 2007, 2008 as this project was moving forward. My understanding the whole time is that there was always going to be an allocation for water and sewer for all existing residents who were not connected to the system. What I'm not clear on, and I don't think administration has the answer yet, or haven't received it yet, which is fine, is where were they accounted for? Were they accounted for under the growth portion, which was going to be paid by development, or were they counted under the existing residents when that piece was done? Because if they're accounted for under the existing residents, that was to be paid for by the flat fee as people connect on, not under the DC process. And this is what we're talking about right now. We're talking about the DC process. So I want to make sure that they were accounted for properly under that system, and that we're not taking away units from development and now holding them accountable to development fees, because that's not how the development fees were supposed to be calculated at that time when that was put on the system. So that's one of the big the questions that I have on this whole thing, is to understand where they were allocated, right? And if it's quite possible that they were allocated under the development and under that scenario, then yeah, there's definitely something that needs to be looked at. And then how do we look at it? You mentioned some different options, sunset clause or something like that. But there, there's also the option of age of the unit or the dwellings, paying portions of as the years go up, right? So a 40-year-old house doesn't pay the same as a 2-year-old house, because the 2-year-old house would have known that there's a DC in effect and what that value is, whereas a house 40 years ago didn't, or that number was extremely lower than it was today. So there are definitely different options, and I think we need to really dig into them before we start imposing an additional cost. And I'm gonna disagree from the respectfully disagree with Monsieur Leduc on the fact that it's 6,000 people that we have to notify for this bylaw. It's the 600 affected that aren't connected today, and what that extra fee that was being imposed on. It's that group that I'd like to see at that public meeting, and then coming out of that meeting, if there is a decision that comes out, and there's others that are going to be affected potentially under the current water users, then that's a separate discussion that we need to have. But I don't believe that that's that the existing residents that are connected today need to be involved in the bylaw process. So,
Thank you very much. D'autres questions, commentaires? Anything to add from the administration? So we're okay with proceeding with the public meeting. T'as-tu besoin d'autres directions sur n'importe quoi, Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Godin?
If you're clear regarding the public meeting prior to any report to council, then it's a different thing than having a report and then going to public.
Well, I think it would be better if you had the public meeting first, gathered feedback,
Okay.
and that would help in the discussion of the report you bring back before council. Conseiller Lorrain?
would that mean then notification of the affected parties so that they could attend? And not just a social media blitz?
Yeah, Monsieur Bourgon, the 600 addresses, we surveyed them a few years ago. So it's possible. We have that list. We could send them, you know, whatever contact, way it was contacted in the past.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, that's correct. We do have the exact address of those locations, so it can be mailed out as well.
Perfect. Everybody's okay with that direction? Okay. Move on to the next item, item F. Financial Report 2018 Q2, Report FS 28-2018. That council receives Report FS 28-2018 dated August 13, 2018.
Sorry to interrupt. There may be some questions, and I know there's a lot of people here for that. Can we suspend the rules of procedure and maybe allow for questions?
Allowed for questions, we can, but there's going to be a public meeting dedicated specifically for this item. So, I mean, they're more than welcome to have that discussion at that point in time, but if they want to stick around to ask a question at the end, for sure. It shouldn't, I'm not seeing, you know, shouldn't be too long with the items we have, so. Financial Report 2018 Q2, Report FS 28-2018, that council receives Report FS 2018 dated August 13, 2018 for information purposes, being the second financial report for 2018 covering the period of January to June. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? No. Item G, over 25,000 purchases report 2018 Q2, Report FS 29-2018. The council receives Report FS 29-2018 dated August 13, 2018 for information purposes, being the second report for the purchases over 25,000 for 2018 covering the period of January to June. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? No. Item H, Grant Report 2018 Q2, Report FS 30-2018. That council receives Report FS 30-2018 dated August 13, 2018 for information purposes, being the second report for grant application activities for 2018 covering the period of January to June. Questions, comments? Anything to add from the administration? Move on. Item I, Infrastructure Report, Ontario IO Loan Application Bylaw Report FS 31-2018. That council receives Report FS 31-2018 dated August 13, 2018 and adopts as presented the bylaw to authorize the loan application with Ontario Infrastructure for the mentioned project. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? No? We'll move on. Item J, Update to Council Remuneration Expenses Bylaw Report FS 32A dash 2018. J'ai pas la recommandation en avant de moi. Let's see if I can. That council receives report FS 32A dated. Nope, don't zoom out. My eyes aren't that great. 2018 dated August 13, 2018, and the council adopts the bylaws presented at the next regular council meeting September 4, 2018, amending council members' remuneration expenses bylaw 2018-069 to clarify the allocation of council's discretionary expenses upon election or nomination of a new member of council after the general election and during the term of council. And that council approves immediately to allocate a discretionary budget of $1,500 to Councillor Calvin Pohl, representing 5 of 12 months of the 2018 allocation of $3,600. Questions, comments, members of council? Conseiller Larin?
Was there $1,500 left in the previous councilor's discretionary budget? And if there wasn't, where's this money coming from?
Thank you. Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Godin, I don't believe there was $1,500 left, but...
Merci, Monsieur Mayor. Councilor Lawrence, so no, there weren't any funds left in the previous councilor's discretionary budgets. So essentially what we're saying, I think in the financial implication is that we're going to take the funds from savings that administration is going to try to identify in the 2018 budget.
From January to, well, essentially May?
January to April, May.
Wow.
Yep. Okay, any other questions or comments? No? Anything else, Ted, from the administration? No? Item K, Delegation of Authority, Property Assessment Appeals Process, Report FS 33-2018. That council receives Report FS 33-2018 dated August 13, 2018 and adopts the bylaw as presented. Questions, comments, members of council? Councillor Pohl.
Yeah, just one question with this allocation. Can we also look at properties where we feel they're under-assessed and get impact to look at them, or have someone evaluate whether or not they are under-assessed, where we should be getting more taxation from some properties? Like the opposite. These are appeals. I'm looking at the opposite side of it, where you have undervalued properties.
Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Godin.
Yes, Councilor Paul. So yeah, essentially, yes, we can challenge if we're not in agreement with the proposed assessment from MPAC. Our tax collection officer does go through, obviously not every property, but we work with MTE. It's an association for taxes who send us reports on irregularities or stuff that could be identified as being too high or too low or just incorrect. So we do go through those lists, and council as well. I mean, if ever you want to bring up a property you believe would be wrongfully assessed, you could always do so. But if we do identify one that we don't believe is correctly assessed, we can bring a report to council to file at 357 and to send to MPAC to reevaluate and to reconsider.
Are you volunteering your property? No? Okay, just checking. Yeah, definitely. Okay. Anything else to add, Monsieur Godin? No? Okay, we'll move on. Next item, item L, Animal Care and Control Bylaw, Report PIC 15A 2018. That council receives report PIC 15A 2018 dated August 13, 2018, and as recommended in Schedule A attached, give direction to the administration in reference to requests received by the public and new additions to be included to the bylaw. So we can bring up the items that had in question for discussion. If there's any items that the council would like to specify they'd like changed or discussed, let's take them. Let's start off with the first one and see where council sits. So the first one was the comments from the public is that cats should be registered same as dogs. The administration recommendations are there to leave it unchanged. Is there any comments, questions, members of council on that point? No? So we're fine with the recommendation from the administration on that one. Item 4, cats, or 4 people, cats should be tied. Again, does council have any comments for that? Councillor Saucier? Okay. I do like the suggestion of having a spray neuter program for stray cats. I'm not sure, Monsieur Leduc, Madame Bourdeau, obviously there would probably be some costs associated with such a program.
Yes, there would be cost, obviously, but there's also groups that help in those situations where when municipalities want to do a program of that sort. There's groups that help out with fundraising and capturing and taking care of cats, so.
Okay. So it might be an option for call to Connie Johnson to get a trivia night to help raise some funds for this kind of project. I'm not sure if council wants to give direction to the administration to perhaps look at something like that. Councillor Saucier?
Yeah, I've also seen where like local vets will get involved and do like a spay neuter clinic or something to you know, and put it a little cheaper and that's sometimes the excuse people don't get their animals spayed or neutered is the cost. So they would do it at a quite a reduced rate, so people could afford to get their pets in, almost like a rabies clinic, you know, when they do that, then it's a cheaper rate. And then, so maybe we could approach the local vets and see if they would be interested in a blitz day or something.
Yes, that's a possibility for cats that are owned, but there's also numerous feral cats, and those have to be trapped, captured, and they release them back to where they were found. But at least, yeah.
So at this point in time, I think council is pretty much under direction to keep no tying up of the cats, and that we, you know, maybe bring back more information later for a type of program that might be proposed. The third one was increase the number of 2 dogs to 3 dogs in urban areas. Research of numerous other cities and townships shows that most have a limit of 2 dogs in urban areas. No changes recommended. Councillor Lorrain, Councillor Brisson.
What happens in the situation of like when a dog has a litter and obviously there's more than 2 dogs on site?
It's right in there.
Is that in there as well?
Yeah, for the age.
Oh, okay.
It says
Okay, just
whenever
making
it's
sure.
too young.
Yeah, so, Madame Bordeaux, that's correct?
Yes, they can keep them, I'm not positive, I think it's up to 4 months or something like that. They're allowed to keep them for a certain period of time until they either sell them or get them adopted out.
Okay, perfect.
Conseiller Brisson?
Oui, moi, ma question était que pourquoi vraiment mettre un nombre? Parce que quand on a déjà des conditions qui disent que ça doit être dans des conditions convenables, tout ça, on ne met pas le nombre de chats qu'on a le droit dans la maison. Pourquoi mettre un nombre de chiens? Je sais que des fois, c'en est trop, mais c'est juste que je me demande, est-ce qu'on a besoin de le mettre? Parce que là, les autres vont dire, ben pourquoi qu'on n'a pas, comme dire, OK, pas plus que 6 chats dans la maison, là. Et on met pas de limite pour les chats, mais pourquoi en mettre pour les chiens?
Mais je pense que ça vient au premier point puis au deuxième point. On veut-tu commencer à contrôler les chats? C'est la direction, tu sais, veut pas, on traite les chats différents que les chiens. Je pense que ça, c'est tout le monde y accepte ça, là. Dans le cas de 3 chiens dans je veux dire, direction of council, I can tell you as somebody who has 2 dogs,
Ouais,
if I was allowed a third, my wife would make me get a third, so I'm quite happy with the 2 dogs. But that's just me personally.
Non, c'est pas une question.
So, Madame Bourdeau, s'il y avait-tu un autre raisonnement à part de ça, c'est juste...
Well, I find that there's a few places where they have 3 dogs and they have small yards. And we get a lot of complaints for either smell. It's not only the excrements, even if the excrements are picked up, it's the urine smell. It's, if you have 3 big dogs, or if you put no limit, some people will have 5, 6 big dogs in a backyard.
in a
So-
confined space.
And then that's when, as soon as you start having more than 2 dogs, then it becomes a pack. And then when they become a pack, then they don't act the same way. So then you have, there's a bunch of studies on it, but it's, they react differently. There's a leader of the group. When you have 2 dogs, then it's not the same.
Mentality.
Yeah, it's different.
Okay. So are we fine with the 2-dog limit? Keeping it the way it is? Councillor Saucier?
What's going to happen to the people that have 3 dogs? Are they
We
going to?
do have people that have 3 dogs, and right now we're telling them, if we don't have a complaint, we don't hear about it. Once one of them passes, don't get another one. If we start getting complaints, then you're gonna have to get rid of one.
And will they be fined if they have a?
Right now,
3.
if they have 3, we don't fine them,
Okay.
but we tell them if, like I said.
Mhm.
They're grandfathered, basically.
Yeah, because I also know people that do like dog sledding.
That,
And
this is in the village,
In the village
Yeah.
core.
yeah, I know.
and people do dog sledding with dog sled in the village?
On the bike path, yes.
No, but I think this is in regards to owning dogs. Does somebody own, like,
Yeah, there are people that like, and then they'll go into Mushler Road, so they do training, you know, and things like that. So I'm
But
just
they have-
wondering,
They have sled dogs in the urban area,
yes,
and they have more than 2 dogs?
yes.
In their back.
I don't know.
nobody's complained yet, I guess?
No, well, they're very well behaved. They're very highly trained, and they are in the house a lot, so, but I know they have more than 2.
I'm not aware.
Okay. Conseiller Brisson?
My lips are sealed.
C'était juste pour clarifier, parce que ça disait 2 chiens dans urban area, puis ça disait 3 dans le reste de la municipalité,
Dans le rural, oui.
dans le rural. Ma question était, c'est parce que là, il y avait des exemptions, soit qu'il y avait un chenil, tout ça, si elle pouvait avoir aussi pour certaines sortes de fermes. Je prends l'exemple comme pour les moutons. Il y en a des choses qu'ils travaillent mieux quand ils sont même 4 ou 5 ensemble, dépendant de la grosseur de l'élevage. Ça fait que là, c'est dans ces exemptions-là, c'est pour ça que je me demandais s'il pouvait avoir une exemption.
Dans le rural, on va avoir des canaux, puis il va y avoir des canaux pour les working dogs ou les sled dogs. Fait que là, les gens ils peuvent avoir un grand nombre de chiens, ils s'achètent une licence de chenille. Fait que si on 7-8 chiens, c'est comme des chiens de chasse, des chiens pour faire du traîneau, des chiens de travail. Il va y avoir différents chenilles comme ça.
So, ils peuvent acheter un permis pour leur
Un
situation.
permis de chenille, puis ils vont pouvoir avoir un montant de chien.
OK.
Plus
Je sais
élevé.
que c'est un concern qui avait été amené pour des éleveurs de moutons, qui a dit, comme c'est là, il n'y en avait pas, mais qu'il y avait cette possibilité-là.
Ouais, ça va être dans un règlement de chenille. Je l'ai mis séparé.
Puis le permis de chenille, tu parles, c'est quoi les...
J'ai pas recherché ça encore. Là. J'ai pas commencé à faire celui-là là,
Attends.
encore. Je vais le faire après.
Après celle-là.
Mais je vais essayer de le passer en même temps avec lui quand
OK.
que je vais rapporter lui. Je vais essayer d'amener les deux.
OK. Parfait. D'autres questions, commentaires? Quelque chose d'autre à ajouter? Non? Ah, oui, on continue ça. Allez, excuse-moi. Redefine the dog barking section. The section will be revisited, so that's not a problem. Requested that limited number of laying hens be permitted in urban areas. This will require a change in the zoning bylaw if approved by council. We've gone through this in the past. I remember so in this new bylaw, zoning bylaw, did we put anything in place for hens, chickens?
At this point, we didn't. However, in the report that was presented to council, it's something that we would bring separately, as we've decided to keep the consolidation of the zoning bylaw as it was presented initially. But this one of the subject that would come out separately, so we'll have a public meeting, and if we need to change the zoning, then we'll do that accordingly to the public meeting and public feedback just on that subject.
Okay. But at this point in time, you're looking for some kind of direction from council in regards to.
It would help, it
Okay.
would help.
For me, I'll say I don't know anything about chickens or hens, but I do remember when there was a few instances of getting complaints about neighbors complaining about the neighbor having that. The only thing, if we decide to go that route, I would recommend we look at is limiting the number based on a certain size of property. Like if I think at areas in Russell where you have like a 3/4 acre lot, couple chickens or hens and is not a big deal. But if I look at somewhere like the new projects where it's a 40-foot yard, do you really want chicken hens in those areas? So that's something I think if we decide to look at, that should be one part. Councillor Brisson?
Je pense que ça serait pas mauvais parce que je voyais dans le rapport qu'il parle pour les pigeons avec des règles assez sévères, mais que des règles pour les distances puis tout ça, puis le nombre de pigeons que tu peux avoir même dans le urbain. Ça fait que s'il y avait des règles de quoi de semblable avec le nombre de poules puis les distances dedans, moi, j'aurais pas de problème non plus. Puis je sais que certains aiment ça, qui aimeraient avoir ça, une coupe de poules. Puis c'est, comme on dit, c'est pas la fin du monde non plus. C'est moins pire que des enfants qui crient tout le temps ou quoi que ce soit, là, tu sais.
OK. Conseiller Lorrain?
So you suggest that people have hens instead of kids?
At a certain age, maybe?
I'm fine with looking at the hens, and I don't think we should be as naive to think that there aren't any hens in the urban limits today. So, if there's not too many issues, then I think that we could look at limiting the number.
Okay. Councillor Paul?
Yeah, I concur with that, as long as there's no roosters.
Yeah.
They're or guinea hens or the noisier type animals.
Okay. So, direction, regarde à les options possibles, puis si c'est zoning, then we'll have to hold a public meeting on that subject and go from there.
Sounds like we should do that anyway. So.
Yeah. Okay. Next item, number of days dogs are to be kept at the pound. Bylaw reflects the regulations under the Animals for Research Act, section 20.1, but we keep animals for longer periods of time. No action is required. Okay, so currently the law, I believe, states, Madame Bordeaux, that we must keep for 3 days.
3 days excluding the day you pick up the dog and the weekends and stats.
And in practice, we actually do longer than that right now,
Much.
longer. So I don't think, are we looking at making changes to that, Councillor Socia?
Yeah, I'm always concerned about, sometimes there was a case where a dog was lost and then it was euthanized before the people were able to find it in,
Here?
no, in Ottawa. And, and they were looking, but it was put down after 3 days and then, so unfortunately they weren't reunited.
There are numerous townships that do keep them 3 days and they dispose of them.
Yeah.
I can assure you that we keep them a lot longer. I won't tell you how long, so you won't criticize me. And the dogs are not euthanized unless they're sick, they're
Yeah, I read
vicious,
that, yeah.
or anything like that. But otherwise, they're not euthanized.
Because I've seen it multiple times in the few years where we have dogs for adoption and we try and, give them away that way. Yeah. Councillor Paul?
Yeah, that was my question. After the term, do we put them up for adoption?
Yes.
After the 3 days?
Well, not after 3 days. We keep
4 or
them
5.
longer and then we put them for adoption.
That's right, we'll try and get them adopted out if we can.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we're okay on that section. Dogs in vehicles, loose in the back of an open vehicle or in a vehicle when the weather conditions are not suitable for the animal or remain in distress section will be added. So they'll be coming back, administration will come back with in the next version. And then review list of prohibited animals. A review will be done prior to the third reading to ensure the right name is used for the breed. So that'll be reviewed and presented to us as well. I think that was it, Madame Bordeaux.
I believe so.
Okay. If there's no further questions, members of council, we'll move on. Councillor Brisson.
Juste une chose, je voyais aussi dans les animaux que tu as regardés, une chose, c'était les lapins, mais comme pet only. Et des fois, si quelqu'un veut en avoir un peu pour se faire un peu de viande, c'est quoi la différence avec un pet puis
Ça devrait être dans l'urbain puis pas dans le rural.
dans l'urbain? Et si il y a une portée puis décide d'en avoir.
C'est juste pas faire de l'élevage de...
Non, mais je pense qu'il y avait un nombre aussi qui était marqué dans le dedans, là,
Mhm.
dans la règle. Puis c'est comme la même chose comme dans la chose des pigeons, je trouvais ça contradictoire parce que dans au numéro 59, ça disait tu n'avais pas le droit de pigeon dans le urbain, mais tu arrives dans le 61 CDE que là tu mets des règles. Le pigeon, il faut qu'il soit d'abord qu'il soit en dedans de temps de la ligne, de tout ça. Fait que je trouvais les
Excuse, tu as dit 59 puis l'autre section, c'est?
l'autre
61.
Comme le C, le D, le E, c'est toutes des règles.
Je pense qu'un réfère au urbain
boundaries.
puis l'autre réfère au rural.
So ça dit within the boundaries of the villages. 59. So en dedans des villages, tu peux pas. Puis après ça, 61. In agricultural zones, except properties used primarily for unless. So
Ouais,
c'est
regarde.
peut-être
Ça
c'est juste-
dépend du zonage.
Ouais, mais regarde l'autre, ça dit except already used primarily for residential purpose unless que là c'est the birds are kept in different size.
Ouais, c'est peut-être juste spécifié urbain puis rural. Ou-
C'est le zonage. C'est parce que il y a des fois, tu as un lot d'un AUC qui est zoné agricole, mais c'est utilisé résidentiel. C'est pour ça que je l'ai écrit le même wording que du zonage.
zonage. Ok.
Parce que des terrains d'un AUC, souvent, sont zonés agricoles.
Ok.
C'est pour ça qu'il est écrit comme ça.
Mais là, ça devrait-tu dire, là on parle de peut-être allouer des poules. Est-ce qu'on
Ben, il va falloir que je change ce bail-là. Là.
Ouais, ça
Le
c'est.
bail-là va refléter ce
Ouais,
que le
c'est ça.
zonage
Mais
dit.
non, mais ma question était pour venir, est-ce qu'on va accepter une coupe de pigeons?
Dans l'urbain,
le-
ben, je sais pas, là. On va regarder ça.
Faut-tu que ça change le bail-là en même temps, ça aussi?
Ben, ça peut faire. Si on est.
Si on accepte une coupe de poules, on accepte une coupe de pigeons?
I'm less worried about chickens flying off and pooping everywhere than I am pigeons, but that's just me. Madame Tremblay, ça peut-tu faire partie du meeting, cette question-là? I'm throwing all the feathers at you today.
Je vais l'ajouter dans ma liste de choses à regarder, d'animaux
Quand
à
on fait
ajouter. Ouais.
Ouais, ok, parfait. Councillor Lorrain?
I don't know how anyone would have one or two pigeons. Usually, if you're breeding pigeons, you're breeding a flock of pigeons or whatever they're called. I mean, growing up, I lived right across the street from a guy who raced pigeons, and he bred them. He had them in his thing, and they would fly over, and they race all the time around the area. So I don't think that I don't know if we don't have it now. Do we want to have breeding of pigeons on the rural in the urban area? Probably not.
Yeah, but if you go a bit higher, like comme des numéros un peu plus bas, là, quand il commence pigeon.
59. Just scroll up. Or does.
Il y a pas de quoi comme ça.
Mais je pense, in effect, we're specifying rural areas is one case and urban is different. So in this case, we're talking about urban, where do we want them kept in an urban area if possible? So again, that's maybe something to research. If it's not feasible to just have one or two pigeons and it's talking about having 15, 20, well, I don't think people would appreciate we put that into effect.
Moi, c'est comme ça que j'avais vu que s'il faisait partie d'un groupe, que là, il était à loin.
Mais Madame Tremblay peut regarder à
These-
ces options-là.
These were definitely racing pigeons, which
Yeah.
is why you breed them in the first place. So.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Councillor Paul?
Just one, if you can scroll to 22. I emailed Millie this afternoon trying to get clarification on it, and just for council's benefit. One of the concerns I had is if a dog's injured, let's say my dog gets out and gets hit by a car or is injured or something like that. My dog's an older dog. In this subclause 2, basically the cost of veterinary services could be charged against me, where I may choose not and have the dog put down instead. That option is not available to me as an owner right now under the current wording that I saw, and that's where I asked Millie for clarification on that. 'Cause mine's an older dog, and I didn't pay very much for it. I wouldn't want a $2,000 vet bill to fix his dog up, get him back and walking, and he maybe dies a week later or whatever. But now I'm faced with a bill of $2,000. I don't know if that's fair to the residents either, if that were to happen to them. If you got somebody on welfare or whatever, old age security, and they suddenly get hit with a $2,000 vet bill, that would be a concern to me. Because they may choose to rather to have the dog put down. given the
Madame Bordeaux?
choice.
Well, your dog should have a dog tag, so I would call you and ask you what you want to do.
Yeah.
But if your dog doesn't have a dog tag, we bring it to the vet when it's in a bad condition, and basically, they try to keep it as comfortable as possible, and we try to find the owner. But at the end of the day, if we can't find the owner, somebody has to decide what to do.
And in that case, that would be up to the,
Well, it would be myself and the vet, and we'd try to, we don't want to put a dog down and then be criticized for killing somebody's family member, because a lot of people, that's how it is, so.
but again, if
If we can, we'll leave it and we'll just keep it comfortable. It's happened in the past where we've done it, but if we know that there's no way to heal that dog, if whatever, broken back or something, then we will put it down.
Councillor Lorrain?
Yeah, I think, but I don't think the question there was whether or not we put down the dog. It's more whether, what would you do to actually heal the dog, and who ultimately is going to end up paying for that?
Well, we have an
Right.
obligation to keep it out of pain. That's our obligation. So we bring it to the vet, and the vet tries to keep it as comfortable as possible, and we have to try and find the owners.
Right.
But if we can't find the owner, sometimes, it hasn't happened a lot, like in my 28 years, it might have happened 5-6 times. So sometimes it's, yeah, we'll have to fix a leg, or and it's gonna cost, you know, $500, $600, $800 and fix a leg, but
So is that then a dispute between the dog owner and the township, or a dog owner and the vet?
no, it's our responsibility because we bring the dog there.
Okay, but it says that in addition to any other fees due to the township for redemption of the dog, right? So it seems like it's imposing a fee to
The owner of the
to
dog.
the owner of the dog.
But they don't deal with the vet, they deal with us.
But, so that's what I'm saying, so
Yeah.
it would be a dispute between, or
Us.
resolution between us and the dog owner, not the vet.
Yeah.
Other questions or comments? Conseiller Brisson?
Juste de quoi clarifier, ça disait comme pour les parcs, s'il n'y a pas une pancarte claire que les chiens sont pas alloués, là, n'importe qui peut avoir son chien dans le parc, lousse.
Pas lousse. En laisse. Ils peuvent avoir le chien en
Dans
laisse.
l'autre, c'est que...
T'as pas le droit d'avoir un chien lousse nulle part,
À part du dog park.
à part du dog park. Fait que si tu vas ailleurs, il faut qu'il soit en laisse. Si tu veux pas avoir de chien là du tout, comme dans les structures de jeu ou ces choses-là, ben il faut l'identifier.
Il faut identifier pour...
Pas de
n'importe-
chien du tout.
Pas de chien du tout, même pas attaché.
Ouais.
OK. Ça, c'était clarifié. Si c'était dans le parc au complet, j'ai dit autrement, là. Ça,
Non, partout, aussitôt que tu sors de ton terrain, il faut qu'il soit attaché.
OK.
Parfait. D'autres questions, commentaires?
Je voulais juste indiquer qu'on n'a pas parlé de la troisième item en arrière, là, puis je veux pas sauter par-dessus parce que,
Ah, tu manqué un?
ouais, justement, Authority to Destroy Dogs.
Ah! Oui. Ben, l'autorité, ça, c'est en dessous du Municipal Act, c'est ça?
C'est Animal for Research Act.
OK.
So, the pound keeper has the authority to destroy a dog. Some people had mentioned that the authority should come from a veterinarian and not us. But the veterinarians are not hired by the township and they don't want the responsibility to make decisions to put down dogs.
And the other point to that being is, again, if a vet wants to do everything possible to save an animal and cost $5,000, $6,000, well, if they're the ones making the decision, I could see where they're trying to save the dogs all the time. You know, and who's gonna foot the bill for that one, right? So I think, I mean, the law is written the provincial law is written that
Yes.
gives us that gives the bylaw services that power. So I'm fine with that. Anything else? Any other comments? Okay. C'est tout, Madame Bourdon? Okay. Move on. Item M, signed bylaw amendment report PIC 2018. The council receives report PIC 2018 dated August 13, 2018, and as recommended in the report approves the proposed status quo to the signed bylaw 2016-052, section 10.4 relating to window signs. I guess I'll speak to this one because I'm the one who had brought up the issue. The simple fact is right now, if a business wants to put a sign in the window, we need a permit currently. That's correct. So essentially, you know, I'll give an example because that's what I know. Convenience store, Red Bull gives me a sign, you know, that says 2 for $3.33. I put that in the window. I need a permit for that. Well, that's a little excessive, I think. I was looking at le tableau. Maryse ou Joanne, le tableau qui, les exemples. The city of Ottawa, if I remember well, window signs are regulated if illuminated when affixed either inside or outside the window. That's the only time they actually let their businesses run the way they want. I know there's other examples of people that are other municipalities are requesting permits, but I think ours, we have to be able to find a balance somewhere. I think as a business owner, we're always wanting to encourage our businesses. If a business owner wants to put a sign in the window, you know, whether it's inside the window or outside the window, I think they should be able to do that without having to come to township for every little permit. Councillor Brisson, Councillor Saucier.
Ouais. Moi, je suis parfaitement d'accord avec ça. Parce que, comme a dit justement, dans ta vitre de magasin, que tu veux la remplir ta vitre ou en avoir juste un qui est mis là, commencer à avoir des permis pour ça. Moi, j'ai pas de problème de l'avoir juste comme ça. Il disait, ben si c'est pas régularisé, ben là, on peut pas contrôler pour s'il y a des messages haineux ou tout ça. Sauf que tout message, dans la réglementation, corrige-moi si s'il y a de quoi haineux puis qu'on a une plainte, il faudrait tout de même juste mettre une motion, une mention comme quoi que si on a une plainte qu'il y a un message non correct, qu'on peut exiger de le faire enlever.
Ben, je pense que j'ai eu une discussion avec Mme Bordeaux cet après-midi. J'ai oublié les deux feuilles que j'avais mes notes dessus, là. Mais essentially, the specifying, quand ça parle des logos, puis du, bad language or that stuff, it essentially says any sign. It doesn't specify any regulated sign.
Mm.
We have the power to tell them on any sign to take it down if it fits within those criterias. So whether a sign is regulated or not, whether they got a permit from us or not, if the bylaw, if somebody, if bylaw services, somebody makes a complaint or whatever the case and sees a sign that says very nasty stuff, we have the authority right now, as it's written, to go take care of that. Is that correct, Madame Bordeaux? Yeah.
But it's not in effect for window signs. It's only in effect for permanent
Well,
signs.
In the bylaw for window signs, it speaks about bilingualism. Now, whether that's the intent, Councillor Lorrain?
That wasn't part of the whole bilingual sign bylaw issue that we had, though. That was specifically to regulate outdoor, permanent, commercial signs, not window signs and not inside their shops.
So maybe that section. On a-tu le bylaw? Tu l'as? Tu peux-tu lire spécifiquement cette section-là sur the window signs?
Message or content? That's
Ouais,
what-
ben les 4 points, là. Ouais, message or content. Oui.
The message or content of any new exterior commercial sign shall be bilingual. The letter, but the thing is that
I think what happens is there's no definition in the bylaw under exterior. Do you consider a window sign on the outside an exterior sign? Personally, I don't. I think of an exterior sign on a post, an A-frame, a permanent sign, but I don't consider that in the window being in that case. But
That's
there's
fine.
no definition in the bylaw of exterior at this point in time. Excuse, continue.
So, yeah, so an exterior commercial sign must be identical in French and in English. And then the message logos and graphics displayed on any sign must not promote violence, hatred, contempt, or discrimination, not be disrespectful or contain profanity or obscenities, and not promote unlawful activity.
Conseiller Lorrain?
Yeah, from living through that, the intent of that was, from my recollection, was to regulate the external permanent sign of the business, and the equal size French and English only is for any additional language other than the actual name of the company, right? So I would not consider window signs being permanent commercial signs, as they routinely change week to week, month to month.
Some do and some don't. I look at some businesses here, they have signs, they have huge picture windows, and they have huge signs in their picture windows, and they've been there for years.
Yeah,
They use them as a curtain at the same time, but it's still a window sign.
Councillor Associate?
Okay, so I'll use your example of Red Bull. So if you got a promotional thing from a company, it's not necessarily going to be bilingual. So and then they're going to send you, Coke or something, like a sale or something. So I agree with everybody. I don't have a problem with the window signs. And also, like I noticed right now, sometimes some of the stores have paper and they've got reno sale going on, like they're renovating their building and then they've put, so, again, I went in because I saw that sign, you know? So I think, I want to support the businesses as much as possible.
Councillor Brisson?
So I would just suggest that we pull that item out of the others.
Separate that item.
Separate, yeah.
Oui. Ben, il n'y a pas. Ouais,
va
la
faire
résolution, il n'y a pas de bylaw comme tel parce que there was no bylaw with this tonight. It's just the resolution. So we can, we'll vote on it separately
Yeah.
and we'll discuss it further at that point. Any other questions at this point? No comment? No. Item N, amendment to the traffic and parking bylaw report PIC 21-2018. The council receives report PIC 21-2018 dated August 13, 2018, and approves as recommended in this report the proposed bylaw amendment to traffic and parking bylaw 31-2004 to eliminate parking spaces along the north side of St. Moritz Trail from St. Marie Road to Richelieu Park in Embrun. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? No? Conseiller Brisson?
La seule question que j'avais, est-ce que dans les plans de lotissement, il y avait de quoi qui avait été planifié pour soit des trottoirs, au minimum des trottoirs, ou de quoi qui part de la rue Sainte-Marie qui s'en va au parc? Il y a déjà une chose. C'est que ici, dans le dessin, c'est que j'ai juste la photo aérienne qui s'était pas bâtie, là. Même que, comme là, c'est ça, elle ne voit pas s'il y avait déjà de quoi pour, ça disait pour pas parking, mais que justement que ce soit du monde en bicyclette ou à pied pour qu'ils puissent se rendre au parc comme il faut, là.
Le trottoir est sur le côté sud.
Côté sud.
Le long de Saint-Moritz, puis il y en a un autre sur avenue Provence.
Puis le fait que.
Les rues majeures qui donnent au parc puis qui donnent à l'entrée principale, il y a des trottoirs de
Ok.
qualité. Ils sont peut-être pas tous construits, là, mais il y en a plusieurs déjà de construits. Mais dans le plan de subdivision, ça a été approuvé avec les trottoirs.
Ok.
Le trottoir, mais pas rien pour les choses de bicyclette, pour pouvoir éventuellement avoir une connexion avec la Nature Trail puis le parc Richelieu.
Non, mais dans le plan officiel, par ailleurs, on avait déjà la piste cyclable qui était démontrée pour passer le long de Sainte-Thérèse pour connecter Saint-Jacques à Sainte-Marie.
Parfait. Conseiller Lorrain?
Has everyone spoken on this item? 'Cause it's in relation, but it's not in exact relation to this. So since we're on this topic, is there a way that we can ask staff or direct staff to come back with a report at a later meeting regarding the differences with crossovers and crosswalks to ensure that we can try and get this out into the public and really focus on public safety? Because there's so many times where along the bike trail, cyclists, regardless of whether there's a stop sign on their two sides, they just keep going right through. There are people that'll stop in the middle of Castor, Notre Dame at the crossing. Some will stop, some won't. And then in the roundabout, when they stop in the roundabout, and you're not expecting a car to stop because they're not supposed to, what are the rules? What do the signs on the road say? Like, who is supposed to yield to who? I know right now we're telling people that cars are first and the pedestrians and the bikes are second. But there's questions with regards to what is painted on the road. Is it accurate for that or not? So there's been so much discussion on that. Can we finally put this to bed and get something on that?
Yep. I think, Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Bourgon, I think we were doing a study in regards to that very subject and looking at different options for the trail, Madame Guittard, as well.
Mr. Mayor, that's correct, and part of that study was gonna include the definition exactly and what's supposed to be in place for all those type of crossing, crossover, whatever term can be used.
Okay. Including
So
the one
based-
at
so
the
that's
at the
based
pool.
on- yeah.
Yeah.
The pool, the one on Bless Street, so all the ones
Yeah.
that's within the township.
I think that the reality is, doesn't matter who has the right of way, car versus person or car versus cyclist, car wins every single time. So, you know, I remember learning when I was a kid, you know, when you get to, when you're on a bike and you have to cross, you get off, you look both ways and you move forward. Unfortunately, that seems to be lost on a few people.
But if,
But-
but if I were, the only point that I'm trying to make is that if our signs on if the crosswalks or crossovers, whatever you're gonna call them, are painted one way, and that's, you know, you look under MTO and there's definitions on who gets the right of way, and we're in the wrong,
Mhm.
then as soon as somebody gets hit, who they're gonna come after? Us. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. That's why I wanna make sure that
Yep.
we get that going.
So we're, that's in the, ça c'est dans le plan d'affaires, c'est ça? Okay, perfect. Item O, amendment to the recycling program report ISPW 12-2018. The council receives report ISPW 12-2018 and authorizes the administration to implement a dual stream collection system for the recycling, and that council approves to remove the recycling containers from the collection contract, and that users with containers will be responsible of their own containers, collection costs and agreements with a contractor. And that council approves the amendment to bylaw 2015-35 in order to establish the changes in the waste management activities, which will take effect January 7th, 2019. Monsieur Bourgon, Monsieur Leduc, this was essentially the issue I brought up after meeting with staff from North in Alexandria, where we knew this was coming. You know, the world market is changing, and we have to make changes to try and accommodate. Recycling is getting very, very expensive. Questions, members of council? Councillor Saucier?
Okay, so, one thing I was going to recommend was that, the Environment Committee have a chance to look at this, because we didn't have all of these details. And what exactly are the black boxes for? In the report, like it said, blue boxes and black boxes.
Monsieur Bourgon?
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. It could be yellow boxes. Administration believe that being a black box for the fibers already being used in the city of Ottawa, we do have lots of residents that came from that program. So it would makes it easier to have a blue box for the metal, the glass, and the black box for the fiber. And that's basically what we're looking by implementing the dual stream. The timing, we had the meeting with RARE only end of June. That's when we learned that they passed the resolution. So from that point to now, we didn't have any AAC meeting plan. And since we need to, if approved by council, we need to purchase bins, deliver them to over 6,000 households, and to send some, like, the flyers and inform the public. So that's the reason why I came straight in front of council tonight to bring that issue. Essentially, we don't have a direct contract with RARE, but the contractor that collects the material would have to bring some separate material. If it doesn't go there, the only option for him would be to go to Ottawa. In that case, we still need to bring separate material. And so we're hoping that it would help reducing the cost to RARE, and to have a trigger effect on our processing fees as well. But essentially, since RARE will only take material if it's separated, so that's why we're proposing tonight to council to opt to that changes starting early January.
Okay, merci, Monsieur Bourgon. I understand the concept of bringing it to the committee, but I think in this case, there's not much choice. I would recommend that the information be brought to the committee for information purposes. But the fact that the facility will only take materials if they're separated, it kind of puts us in a position where it's not like we have 25 different options here. We have one, either we separate it or we go elsewhere where we'll have to separate it either way. So, other questions? Conseiller Brisson, Councillor Paul.
Oui, moi, c'était juste quand on parlait de que ce soit les blocs appartements ou que ce soit les différentes compagnies d'enlever les containers. Je comprends qu'il y a de la contamination, mais je sais que si on donne de leur dire allez avec le contracteur, ils feront plus de recyclage. Ils vont aller juste le garbage.
Monsieur Bourgon?
tu sais que c'est un sujet à apporter justement à la discussion plus longtemps au comité d'environnement. Comment qu'on peut dealer avec ça, parce que je sais que ça se fait à déjà plusieurs appartements, tout ça. là.
Monsieur Bourgon?
Monsieur Hubert, conseiller Brisson. Donc, les conteneurs qui sont pour certains commerces présentement, les appartements, on ne pourra plus les accepter aussi du fait que tout est mélangé dans ces conteneurs-là. On a envoyé des communiqués à tous les gens qui ont des conteneurs de recyclage. On est toujours en attente qu'ils nous contactent. On veut les aider, on veut leur offrir des options. Peut-être qu'ils ont, si c'est surtout du carton, ben, il y a des contracteurs qui vont ramasser le carton, parfois même à des prix vraiment bas. Donc, on veut que ces gens-là nous contactent pour qu'on les aide. Dans la lettre qu'on leur a envoyée aussi, on leur a mentionné que si c'est approuvé, que le changement rentre en effet seulement au mois de janvier 2019. Donc, il y a quand même une période d'adaptation. Mais on veut travailler avec ces gens-là, on veut aider à trouver des options pour soit être capable de séparer ou selon leurs besoins également. Peut-être qu'ils n'ont pas nécessairement besoin d'un conteneur.
Peut-être qu'ils pourraient juste utiliser des bins bleus ou noirs comme nous autres, on a
Exactement. Donc, on veut travailler avec chacun d'eux pour arriver avec la meilleure option.
Merci. Conseiller Paul?
Yeah, two suggestions. One is on the plastics recycling container that we have or that we produce in the future. Could we put on there the actual numbers of the plastics that are acceptable? Because I know even myself with recycling, is it number 2? Is it number 6? Is it number 4? To have that actually on the box, so when you throw your stuff away, you can check, oh, it's a number 5, it's not accepted. I find it, if it's on the box itself, you can always remind yourself that way, rather than always looking at a chart or going to look it up on the website, oh, which one is now? Because I know some have been in, some of them have been out, what we accept.
Monsieur Bourgon?
It's a good idea. The fact is, though, the industry or the processing facility could basically determine tomorrow that they're not collecting one number and it's now changed.
Yeah.
So I like the fact to put on our boxes what we're taking in each one of them, but it makes it hard when we know it can change and it varies depending of what the market or what product they're able to sell or whatnot. So, but it's something that we can consider.
Conseiller Brisson, Councillor Saucier?
L'autre chose à considérer, je sais qu'ils sont plus dispendieuses, mais surtout c'est pour le papier. Si elle peut avoir, surtout qu'il va être ramassé aux 2 semaines, comme les plus grosses avec un couvert, que c'est que comme ça, autrement, avec aussitôt qu'il y a un peu de vent, autrement, ça se retrouve tout dans les champs, puis toutes ces choses-là. Puis s'il pleut, ben là, avec le papier, il est tout contaminé pareil. Puis je sais qu'il y a plusieurs, les filles vont à Guelph, puis tout ça. Puis c'est tout ça, là, c'est des choses avec un roux puis un couvert qu'ils partent avec puis ils l'amènent aux choses. Ça peut être considéré dedans.
Councillor Saucier, then Councillor Lorrain.
Yeah, did we not, I thought we had a list that went to every household of what the numbers were that Minot had worked on, and then it can be updated as yearly or something.
You're correct. It's on our webpage, and when we send the calendar out,
Yeah.
there's that list of material that's been collected. And as well, if we do proceed with the dual stream on our yearly calendar, we already put like the weeks, like a shaded one and a light one, so at least the visual resident will know like which one's which. So that's why in 2018 we already put that, so it won't be a big change for that way for resident.
Councillor Lorrain, then Councillor Paul.
Yeah, the only caution that I would have for one of the suggestions from Councillor Brisson with the boxes with the wheel and the hood thing is, I don't know if you've ever seen the ABC drivers and the ones who pick up the stuff. They're not very gentle with the boxes and tend to, I won't say forcefully hit them on the ground, but they don't place them back where they took them. They kind of just toss them. And, you know, I mean, I have a big bin for garbage, and that's, you know, I'm always worried that the wheels on that are going to break. So replacing a blue bin is probably a lot cheaper than replacing a blue bin with wheels and a lid. So I'm just saying that, you know, if we're going to go that route, we really got to take into consideration the fact that you know, if they get destroyed, we have to replace them a lot quicker.
Councillor Paul?
Yeah, I noticed the clear plastic bags were removed from the list of permitted things that you could store it in. Goes to windy days, you know, when your cardboard's blowing all over your yard, as well as keeping it dry during rainy times. I use the plastic bags. I find it very, very convenient. They're dry, you get it picked up. Is there any way of working that with cardboards, the clear plastic bags to keep those?
Monsieur Bourgon?
To your point, that's something, it was more a requirement by RARE, being all the work done manually. So it's something maybe we can have a chat with them to see what would be possible.
It
With
just
that-
keeps your
with
product
that detail.
dry, basically, for collection.
Councillor Duray?
And that was just for stuff that was going into the black box or whatever the box, not the regular blue bins for the bags, right? Bags would still be acceptable for other stuff?
D'autres questions, commentaires? Quelque chose d'autre à ajouter, Monsieur Bourgon? No? Okay, we'll move on to the next item. Item Community Grants Report PR 21, 2018. The council receives Report 21, 2018 dated August 13, 2018 and approves the following department's recommendations for community grants donations in 2018 to the following group. To approve an in-kind grant in the amount of $600 to the Centre de Santé Communautaire de l'Estrie for the rental of the Palais des Sports Hall in Embrun for their weekly exercise workshops. According to the community grants and contribution guidelines, these requests meet our requirements for funding. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? No, pretty standard. Move on. Item Q, Fire Department Quarterly Report, Report Russ M 04 2018. The council receives Report Russ/M 04 2018 dated August 13, 2018. Questions, comments, members of council? Councillor Saucier?
Yeah, I just had a question, like, was it in this report about the malicious, no, that's in our, sorry, it's the next one.
Okay.
Malicious attacks or something that took place? I'll find it.
It's worded.
Okay. Oh, okay. So it didn't happen. Is it on Embrun?
I'm just scanning through the list. I see malfunction. Malfunction. Councillor Paul?
Yeah, just a quick question on the vehicle collisions. Do we try ever to recoup money from insurance companies for the cost of our department attending those scenes?
We haven't at this time. We have investigated. We haven't really looked into. We have different points of views with that. Again, we're not ruling it out, but we don't want to get into a spot where people are afraid to call in if there's. And I have heard that from other fire chiefs that can work opposite to you. That if people are aware of that they may not report it. So there's goods and bads about it. So we are still looking into it. So.
I think we found it here.
Yeah.
Malicious intent or prank.
Yeah. There was like 3 or 4 of them.
There's at least 3. There's 122, 131, and 132 in Russell.
Human malicious intent prank.
Oh. That was the burning of outhouses. And actually in garbage, 1 outhouse and 2 garbage containers on the nature trail. Actually the same night as the musical ride in Russell. We had a couple that night.
The recreational trail.
That's correct.
I remember that. Okay. Mostly kids being kids. That's why we need to put more recreational facilities so they have something to do.
Or get more hens.
All right. Item R, amendments to the bylaw appointing officers of the fire department. Report Russ M 05 2018. That council receives report Russ M. 05-2018 dated August 13, 2018, and approves as recommended in this report the proposed bylaw to update and repeal bylaw 2016-012 to confirm the appointments of the Russell and Emblem Fire Department fire chiefs, deputy fire chiefs, captains, fire prevention officers, assistant fire prevention officers, and lieutenants. And that council agrees to modify the current 2018 salary grids for the fire department as presented in this report. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add, chiefs?
Just we wanted to add the lieutenants because at any given time they can be responsible for a scene, so we just wanted to make sure they had our backing, so.
Perfect. Always nice to have a pecking order, if you will, that clearly identifies who's in charge on the scene. Quelque chose à ajouter, Monsieur Leduc? No? Okay. Move on to the next item. Item S, Employee and Council Benefits Plan Renewal, Report CAO 08-2018. The council receives information, Report CAO 08-2018, dated August 13, 2018. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration?
Basically, overall, we're getting this 9.3% increase, and the group was 9.7 on average. So,
Yeah.
I'd say we're doing well, but certainly.
Yeah. But last year, there was a considerable savings as
savings,
well.
correct.
So if you look at it multiple year, it tends to balance itself out. Okay. Councilor Lorrain?
I'm just gonna throw this out for council's consideration, since we're talking about benefits, and I know that I was one of them that voted against it before, which is why I can bring it back. I was just wondering if council had an appetite to discuss or to revisit the OMERS for the next council, since we're talking benefits.
Okay. Thank you very much, Conseiller Lorrain. Councillor Poole, I don't believe, was at that discussion back then. But yeah, if I remember well, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, Monsieur Leduc. In order for council to accept being on OMERS, the mayor has to agree to it. If the mayor does not agree, even though 4 councillors might, it can't go ahead. Is that correct?
I forget that detail. All I know is that we had that discussion at the last budget. It was in the budget, and we put that money aside in the reserve if ever council wants to reopen this. So as far as the impact on costs regarding taxation and the next year's budget, and that money's been set aside in the reserve.
Yeah. And if I remember well, when a council is first put on OMERS, the cost to the municipality is nil, because if a member of council who's been on council for a period of time wants to buy into, he pays both his portion and the past council's municipal contribution as well. It's just going forward. If I remember well, I think it was like a cost of $5,000 a year for the township, 6,000. It wasn't much. As mayor, I'm fine if we want to bring that back. If that's the will of council, we could have it brought back at the next council meeting for discussion.
And to clarify, it will be for the next council. It wouldn't be for this council.
It's council, right?
Yeah.
Right. If other members of council are okay with that, Councillor Poole?
I know a number of other municipalities have gone ahead with that for council members, so I'd be in favor of that, but I'd also want to see how many neighboring municipalities are involved in that. Maybe as part of the back, just to double check with the other clerks
Okay.
or treasurers.
Parfait. D'autres questions, commentaires?
I think that,
Conseiller Brisson?
yeah, I think there was a certain amount of percentage of councillor that has to accept so that it pass.
It's majority of council, if I remember well, but the mayor has to be one of that majority. If the mayor is not on board, then it
Just a
can't go
check.
forward.
But then it was also, once the council has agreed to it, then it basically binds the other councils going forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a council coming in at a later date can't opt out of it. It's forever.
You're just bringing up this, but does it affect, since we're in, how we call it?
Lame duck?
Lame duck.
Duck. C'est pas une décision qui, well, especially
It
if we're
is.
well, it's a decision in the sense that we're making it for the 2019, so there's no financial impact in this council. But again, Monsieur Leduc, you specified that it was put into the budget and it's put in a reserve if council decided to go that route. So it's already,
It's not new.
it's not new, it's already in the budget at this point in time. So, this council, if that council wanted to make that decision, then we have full option to do so. Is that correct, Monsieur Leduc? In your interpretation? We'll double check.
Now, double check, I would say probably you can, but we'll double check.
Okay.
And you're sure you want to discuss that right now?
Well, we'll bring it back at the next meeting in September.
Okay, not in budget discussions.
No, on va l'amener next meeting. Everybody's okay, bring it back the next meeting? Yeah, we're never fine.
Just trying to see if there's any, like, pros and cons.
Wait,
on
bang,
the back,
it'll-
because to refresh the,
Yeah, well, the report will be very similar to what was presented in the past. It'll just be, just some of the questions that we've asked might have to be looked at. Okay, perfect. Item T, third best place to live in Canada. Welcome Signs Report CAO 09-2018. The council receives report CAO 09-2018 dated August 13, 2018, and underline our position in the Money Sense ranking and supports the administration recommendation to install 6 promotional signs at various main entrances of our township. I like it. I think we should be showcasing that we're third. But again, these are not heavy duty signs meant to be permanent for the next 20 years, because obviously it changes from year to year. We hope that we go up, but being in third, it's
It may stay on the sign for a couple of
yeah. So questions, comments, members of council, conseiller Brisson?
oui, il y avait, moi, juste concerne un peu pour tout bien discuter les emplacements des mètres, parce que quand ils voyaient comme le chemin Rossland à Limoges, il n'y a pas bien du passage là. À Russell, je vois juste la rue Gregg. Il y a déjà des pancartes, comme je disais tout à l'heure, de Russell au nord et au sud, qui rentrent dans Russell, que j'enverrai plus là. C'est juste pour les localisations, peut-être que je questionnais un petit peu.
Ouais, je pense, Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Bourgon, we have traffic counts for for a lot of places that will be able to specify which are the best areas to put it in.
Yeah, exactly. And the Rossland Limoges, I know that's a really,
Really
really busy,
busy.
corner.
Yeah.
As for the others, there's already good location for that sign.
Parfait. Monsieur Leduc, quelque chose à ajouter?
Ben, Monsieur le maire, je pense que c'était bon de souligner le résultat. Je sais que vous avez exprimé, merci les membres du conseil, de façon de souligner ce score-là. Mais ça a aussi soulevé la question de l'identité. Beaucoup de monde se questionne, est-ce que c'est le village de Russell ou si c'est la municipalité de Russell? Les statistiques, les données font allusion à la municipalité de Russell. C'est pour ça que c'est important, je pense, qu'on fasse... que nos autres communautés dans la municipalité sachent qu'ils font partie de cette désignation-là et non pas seulement que le village de Russell. So that's why I thought that, as you suggested, some members of council, that this should be posted up so that we recognize this award. But certainly, again, we certainly support that from the branding point of view, that this is the whole township success,
Yes.
not necessarily a village.
Conseiller Lorrain?
Might I just suggest a 7th out front here? Somewhere at Town Hall? I don't know where yet, but whether it's outside or inside, when on the bottom of the desk or something for when people come in, so that they see that,
Right on the front of the building.
absolutely, I don't. Well, make sure there's enough room for each year going forward, right?
Monsieur Leduc?
Well, we've issued the RFP for the LED sign that's outside the building here, so that could be one of the number of messages
Rotating.
that goes around. So if we do have a sign, I don't see the necessity of having another sign on the building. But if
Or attach it to the sign.
Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll leave that decision up to the administration if everybody's okay with that, Mr. Calvin Pohl.
Just one of the things on the sign itself that was proposed, I think going to John Leduc's point, the township logo and the township emblem idea here should be larger, I think, to promote the whole township if we're going to do that. Because it's kind of small print there. It'd be hard to see as you travel at any kind of speed or going by it.
Yeah.
The 3 is really big. I'd rather see our logo really big and promoting the township as being really big.
Monsieur Leduc?
well, we thought that it's a very quick glance when you go by, when you drive by. So you wanna see the message we're the third best place to live? We're
Where?
right beneath the village sign, so you know you're in Russell Township, you know, in Albert, in Nagel. That's kinda why we didn't wanna go there. But if council wants us to look at this, because this is just a draft, I mean, just,
Yeah. I mean, the fact is, it'll be underneath our Russell sign, right? Russell Township sign. So you're driving, you see Russell Township, right underneath, you see third best place to live in Canada. Councillor Lorrain?
What about around the actual,
Three?
around the three, like on the outside,
Township of Russell.
Embrun, Limoges, Russell, Marionville being worded all the way around?
Municipality of Russell Township.
Well,
Yeah.
leave that the way it is, but then just, you know, in black lettering, just, they have all four villages listed right around it. So then everyone is included.
But it's a rural area too, so that wouldn't include that.
What's that?
It wouldn't include the rural area then.
Well, it's the whole
Villages.
township.
What do you mean rural area?
Well, if you just put all the way around the three, I like your idea, but put municipality to Russell and township underneath. There's a circle around the three.
Oh, I just thought we'd keep the municipality of Russell underneath like it is, and then just list the four villages so that everyone feels like they're included. I don't know. That's my opinion.
I think the reality is there's different options staff will be working on. I mean, do we want to put something together? I don't, you know, do we want this to come back or we're okay with moving forward with it? Maybe just, vous planiez-tu de faire ça avant la prochaine réunion?
ben, tu comprends, on peut faire travailler encore plus le draft, là.
Ouais.
Si vous voulez aller de l'avant. Puis après ça, ben, peut-être circuler par courriel certains choix.
Ouais, ouais.
À moins que vous voulez le décider en public.
I don't need another report.
No, we don't need another report. I think we're okay. We've made our comments. Staff can work with the comments we've made and come up with a draft and surprise us. Might not be exactly the way one of us or two of us or three or four of us or five of us wanted, but I think it gets our point across that we're third best in Canada and we should all be proud of that. So, Monsieur Leduc?
Also, I don't know if the clerk has circulated there's also an online visibility statistics sheet that's been produced. Okay, oh, it's been put in your,
In the
your
box.
In your box. But certainly you can see the significant increase in activities on the Facebook page, on our website, on Twitter account, and Instagram. You'll see, you know, sometimes it's an increase of, you know, twice the amount of traffic that we normally get. So that we only got that from 2 weeks time frame. So significant interest in seeing who we are when that recognition is given out there. So there's been a lot of kinds of traffic, and you'll see that in your stat sheet that you have received.
I think the reality is, you know, we have a magnifying glass on us right now from across the country. I've seen a lot of people on social media who are tagging people outside of the township saying, "Hey, you guys are looking to move. Here's the perfect spot." You know, and so we're getting a lot of traffic and a lot of attention, and I think that's very positive. Councillor Associate, Councillor Lorrain.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that because I was at an event at Finley Creek, and like I don't know how many people came up to my booth and said, "Oh, you're from Russell, the third best place to live." Like everyone had heard about it, so the word is certainly getting out there.
Councillor Lorrain.
Yeah, so just to put some context in as well, I mean, we had a little community barbecue on the weekend on Saturday, and you know, you meet some neighbors and whatnot, and I live in a new subdivision, so there's a lot of new people to the area, and that was one of the things that was mostly discussed at while you're talking and introducing yourself and meeting new people in the subdivision was the ranking of third best place to live in Canada. And a couple of them, it was one of the reasons why they decided to come this way, because there were people there that had been there for like 2 weeks. So, you know, like, and they've been looking. They were looking, and they've seen the rankings last year. They've seen the rankings this year, and you know, it puts us on the map. So
Definitely. We're all good? Parfait, Monsieur Leduc? Okay. We'll move on to the next item. Item 12, notice of motions. We have none. Item 13, question period on meeting of the day. If anybody has questions on the agenda, please come up to lectern, montez au lutrin, say your name. I don't see any questions. Si une question, juste vous présenter en avant au lutrin, puis dire votre nom, puis votre adresse, s'il vous plaît. du jour, c'est ça. Parfait. Tu es sur ma liste de rappels, by the way. J'ai eu ton message. Mais définitivement, je peux te jaser après la réunion ou demain. Mais si tu veux adresser le conseil comme tel, la seule façon de faire ça, c'est à travers une délégation. Tu demandes pour adresser le conseil, mais tu es la bienvenue à faire ça. Tu as juste à remplir le formulaire avec la graphière. Merci beaucoup. No other questions. We'll move on to item 14, resolutions. Motion that council approve all the recommendations listed on the agenda under item number 11, reports from departments, council committees, except for on a sortie coupe.
Yes, so if you want to go ahead with the main motion, and then we had 11E and 11M, the sign bylaw and capital charges bylaw.
11E and 11M.
M, yes.
Okay, so I need a mover and a seconder to put it on the table. Moved by Conseiller Lorrain, second by Conseiller Brisson. And then we'll remove, except for item E and M. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Conseiller Lorrain, second by Conseiller Brisson. Everybody okay to remove those two items? We're good? So let's vote on the main motion, except for E and M. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. So now we will go to item E, which was the capital charges bylaw. Report FS 22A-2018. So at this point in time, we'll put it on the table. Moved by Councillor Lorrain, seconded by Councillor Paul. And Councillor Lorrain.
I'm going to request council again to defer this item. I think we've given direction to administration to go back, send out notifications, get a public meeting together, and come back to council at a later date for second reading of the document. So I'm going to suggest that we defer this item.
Okay, motion to defer, moved by Conseiller Lorrain, seconded by Conseiller Brisson. Questions, comments on that deferral? Monsieur Leduc, on est clair sur la direction du conseil?
Si on est prêt dans 2 semaines, vous êtes prêt à voir ça, ou si on est prêt dans 2 mois, c'est
Yeah, whenever the administration schedule, if you're ready for a public meeting, you have it done, and you're ready to bring it back to council. When it's ready, it comes back. Okay, Conseiller Lorrain?
Yeah, my motion has for deferment has no time limit, so I think staff, my opinion is just to go, get it done. I don't want to use it properly, but you know what I mean. Get it done right and bring it back to us.
Okay, so we have a mover and second, Councillor Paul.
Do you want it another facility? Because you may not be able to house everybody here.
Public meeting, do we have, no, it's not a council meeting, so it's just a public meeting. We have that ability to hold a public meeting in any of our facilities, is that correct, or?
Yes, we do not state for public meetings where they have to be held in our procedural bylaw.
Okay, so we'll let the staff decide on the best venue, the potential, yeah. And see, maybe what we can do is, one in East Village, but we'll let the administration work out the details to see what's the best options. Correct avec ça, Monsieur Leduc? So that's, so moved, seconded, we've had our questions. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried, so it's now deferred to a later date when the administration will bring back the report. Item M, the sign bylaw amendment. Need a mover and a seconder to put on the table. Moved by Conseiller Lorrain, seconded by Conseiller Brisson. So this was, we've had comments on this discussion. We have to essentially, we'll have to propose exactly what we want to the administration to come back with the changes in the bylaw. So, I personally don't see the exterior of the window being an exterior sign. Yes, people in the exterior see the sign, but, I think that it's up to a business owner to do what he wants with his windows. We already have rules in place for signage on the street and, the post signs, the permanent sign, that stuff. So I would recommend that the window sign section be removed completely from the bylaw. Councillor Lorrain?
I don't disagree. I think we need to help our businesses out rather than harm them, and I think this harms them. And I don't believe that the section that was read, although it's the only one that would apply, applies to that, right? It was the intent was to apply for the permanent exterior sign, not window signs, whether they're permanent or not. The fact is it's not an affixed new sign that has to be built and regulated, so I'm fine with allowing.
Okay, Councillor Paul?
Yeah, I'd agree with that, as long as it's the window itself, not outside of that window space, and on either side of the glass. So we're very clear that that can't happen on either side of the glass, we're not gonna regulate it.
Right.
So if you're
Inside or
painting on one
outside?
side of the glass or painting on the other side of the glass, or whatever you're doing on the glass itself.
Yeah.
But the opening be restricted to the opening, so that we don't get people plastering the whole front of the building,
Right,
but it's specifically that window.
to the window, the glass portion of the window. Monsieur Leduc?
So, Mayor, I'm just gonna say, what I think personally that, you know, I would have liked us to work on the definition, because I can understand a sign being glued to the window, which got no words, then you have no issues of bilingualism. But if that same sign is stuck to the window and there's language there, I wonder if that doesn't meet the exterior permanent signage. So that's why I would have liked a chance to look at this. I know we hear your interest in looking at this, but we'd like to maybe see if our report changes, or if not, can take into considerations your concerns. But I would have liked to discuss internally here to see what's for us to recommend to you. There might be some things you have not thought of, or we have looked or researched and find some other options. So
I
if you're
believe.
okay with options, I mean, I'm not saying that we have any or we will have any, but certainly if we are to bring any options, will council accept that?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Leduc. Well, the bylaw itself would have to come back. So at that point in time, I'm fine if you want to bring a report with some suggestions. And I understand plastering the whole window. I did see in the table from other municipalities, a lot of the other municipalities, it was up to 50% window coverage. So I mean, if people were putting small signs, like earlier example, convenience store putting sale here, sale here, sale here, it's not covering 50%. It's not an issue. But that I'd be fine with. But suggestions, I'm always open to suggestions. Conseiller Laurent?
I'm gonna be clear on my position on this one here, is that in no way, shape, or form am I gonna sit here to try and force bilingual signs in windows. I'm just because the concept of bilingualism of signs came up, and that I have no intention to be looking at for enforcing any type of bilingualism in window signs.
Councillor Saucier?
I support Councillor Laurent's position, but also we got to consider a lot of businesses get asked to post events also, like posters and things of community events. So that's, it's, I'm totally in support of the businesses putting what they want in their window.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. I think direction from council, you have a pretty good feeling where we are. So if when the bylaw comes back, if you want to bring an associated report with that, then more than welcome to the administration to do so. Okay. Move on to item 15, bylaws. Motion that council approves bylaw 2018-0. Yeah, faut qu'on le remove le premier. So it just, it's on its own. So is it automatically deferred since we deferred it already? Because we did a motion to defer, it's already as deferred by.
Yes, at
Okay.
that number.
Okay. Bylaws and attachments. Motion that council approve bylaws 2018-100 to 2018-108 inclusively for first, second, and third reading as listed in the agenda. We'll put that on the table and then we'll remove 104, c'est ça? So I need a mover and a seconder to put it on the table. Moved by Councillor Paul, seconded by Conseiller Laurent. I need a motion to remove item 104, which was the enumeration and expense bylaw. So moved by Conseiller Laurent, seconded by Councillor Saucier. Everybody okay to remove that one? Ça, c'est celui qu'on a discuté parce qu'il faut qu'on le ramène dans 2 semaines. Everybody's okay with that? We're good? So now we'll vote on the main motion that everything except for 104. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Item 16, new business reports, we have none. 17, other business, we have none. 18, public meetings, we have none. 19, closed session. Motion to move into closed session at the hour of 7:58 PM to address matters pertaining to Section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001, SO 2001, Chapter 25, consider matters relating to 1, sale of land in the industrial park, Section 2C, a proposer pending acquisition or disposition land by the municipality or local board, Section 2, or Item 2, Human Resources Bylaw. Section 2D, Labor Relations or Employee Negotiations. And that's everything. So I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Conseiller Brisson, second by Councillor Saucier. All those in favor? All those opposed? We're now in closed session. We'll come back in 10 minutes. Thank you very much, everyone.